Imagine like Anthony Bourdain, but with a paintbrush. I was writing over at Atlantic Records, and we was working out at Kid Cudi's studio, and I remember they were like, "Yeah, we need to put some gunshots in this. We need to." I'm like, "What are you talking? What are you talking about, bro?" We live in an era where your family can be canceled or destroyed or torn apart or burned to the ground for having a different opinion. This is a weird question. Would you ever sell one of your bones?
Well, welcome back to another podcast here at Spectruss Speakeasy. Today we've got Genesis the Gray Kid with us. We're going to be just kind of catching up, chatting, learning more about him. I've got a few of his pieces of art here in the office. I got the first one back probably, I guess that was the old office, 2018?
Yeah,
17?
17, 18, maybe 17.
Yeah. I've been collecting them since then, but
Yeah.
that one's still one of my favorite. And Zach, we can include this in there, like show maybe a screenshot of it or something. But how you kind of got that hidden message in there.
Oh,
and
yeah. That was a good time.
It's like a perfect fit for like what we do here and staying creative. And now all the work we do, we got to be creative, right? And really every part of life. But since then, collected some more of the pieces, and really goes back to, we're trying to remember before this, but I think it was like 2013 or 14, and the first time was probably at Tremont Street, our original office, and it had just become Sylvie Huffaker Creative. That was office I slept in for a while when it was Sylvie Development, and I was trying to build websites and make some money. And then
Y'all were sleeping there too?
it was just me at first, and then Hugh Huffaker and I, we kind of got connected through rock climbing, and then we became business partners for a little bit. But then somehow, I think Hugh crossed paths with you first, right? Like maybe a hip hop thing or poetry thing.
I don't know. It might have been at the same time, but I know there was music involved. Whatever it was around music. Because I think he was playing, you were playing.
Yep.
I was like writing music, It was
Yeah.
a music thing for sure.
And we had that. I've got to go back and find. I was thinking about it this morning, like kind of just going through my head of like all the different interactions I had over the years. And we just gotten a boom, like a kind of a jib and boom combo, and we had that new FS 700 camera, and we're starting to film commercials. And we're like, and you stopped by the office, and I think it was like midday, middle of work, and Hugh had a guitar there, and he started playing, and you started doing some hip hop stuff, just like freestyle, and then I was filming, and I got to go back and find that. It was such
It was a good time, man. That was a really good time. Was it? Every time I think back during that time, I don't remember what was happening in the city. Like I don't like who was president. I should know that, but you know what I mean. Like I just don't remember. I don't know. Like 2007, I don't remember what was happening for real.
right. Yeah.
And I don't know. It's so 2012 is kind of like that. Like I remember that, but the in between, I don't even know what I was wearing. I think I was wearing fedoras or something. But
Yeah.
it's kind of a blur a little bit.
It is. I know what you mean. Like, I think I kind of remember either by racing, because 2007, you're like, what was I doing?
Were
I was
you
like,
racing back then?
yeah, in 2007, I was racing bicycles then. I just dropped out of college, actually, and was going to race
Me
bicycles.
too. Congratulations.
Yeah, cheers.
I dropped out too.
Hell
You
yeah.
dropped out too, didn't you? No? Okay. Well, she asked her.
Nice. Hell yeah. And then 2012, I remember that because that's when I moved in the office and was living on the futon. And but I remember whenever we were first starting to hang out, like you were doing a lot of hip hop stuff, then, like writing music and
Yeah, it started to get a little weird. I was writing over at Atlantic Records, and we was working at a Kid Cudi's studio, and I'm not gonna say this guy's name because he's a good guy. It was just the way the business went down was kind of it wasn't for me. I just felt like it was with music at that time, working with a label. There's a lot of chefs in the kitchen. eh, like I'm not a gun guy. I don't have nothing against guns, but I'm not a gun guy.
yeah.
And I was writing a song, and I remember they were like, "Yeah, we need to put some gunshots in this. We need to." I'm like, "What are you talking? What are you talking about, bro?" And so it's like it doesn't. Even if it isn't you, they don't care. It's like they're working on a algorithm type vibe. They're trying to just put things together that they've seen work before, and play a numbers game like bean counting. and that just wasn't me. So I had to I had to step away, and I didn't know if I made the right choice in the beginning because I was like, man, maybe I should have just did what I didn't want to do,
Right.
get all the people, like build up the social, and then maybe 7 years down the road do what I want to do. Because after I left, I was broke. Like I wasn't making any money, so
Yeah.
those kind of thoughts come in your mind from time to time when you step away from stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It'd be scary.
It was scary. I'm glad I did it, but at that time, it was terrifying.
It's interesting how like music is supposed to be so creative, and it is creative. Like it's supposed to all be creative, but then there's become this, like you kind of mentioned, like an algorithm for. I really seen it in country music just the last decade,
Oh, it's,
especially,
it's crazy.
and they just had this whole like probably teams of people in buildings studying like what it is people want to hear and how to build the right formula for lyrics and all that.
And that's been 1,000 similar sounding things until one hits, and that one I pay for all the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy to me.
So a question for you, I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit. Is there artists you like these days that you still feel like isn't necessarily doing like the algorithm formula approach, but it's
Tom York,
okay?
yeah, Radiohead.
Yeah.
I mean, he stepped out of that years ago, probably over a decade ago. He stepped out of that whole box, and he's been making a lot of beautiful, atmospheric, just music that I feel like is coming out of him. You know,
Yeah.
uh, when he first came out, I saw some of that, but I think he was also having to try to make a chart topping song where now he doesn't care. He's
Yeah.
making what he wants and he's built up enough of a cult following where they're getting it either way. I bought one of his albums like 8 times. Like I already had it. I was just handing it out because it was beautiful. It was unique, and I felt like he had something to say, and he was saying it. I liked it a lot. I
He's
listen to him when I paint. Him, Miles Davis. There's a lot of guys I think that charted their path, but you know, it is what it is.
that's I hadn't. I've got some of his albums even on vinyl as well.
Hmm.
Like I just went blanking on it. It's embarrassing, but the one Rainbow in
Oh yeah, I know the one you're
in
talking about. In rainbows, it's got the
yeah
colorful
yeah yeah.
pattern on the front.
And
Yeah,
then watch. Have you seen like the YouTube where like they're I guess I don't know if and I should know this
Scott Miss when they're playing like live.
live in the studio. And
Yes,
man,
yes,
that is amazing.
that's what I'm saying. It's pure. It's like a fresh squeezed orange juice or something, man. It's
Right.
I'm trying to think of the right word for it, but it's healing. I like listening to their music. Even when he's talking about dark stuff, like there's a song called uh I forgot the title, but it starts out with him looking at a lake and like running and jumping off the cliff into the lake, like, and it's just quiet, and he's like one with this lake. I don't know if he's talking about suicide or I don't know if he's talking about like just ending it all, but it's so beautiful and it's so honest. Even though I don't contemplate those thoughts, listening to someone else who has, it makes me become more acute to empathy and compassion about things I would have never even pondered on. Because my mind doesn't go to that place, but apparently his does from time to time. And it's a dark song, but I'm listening to it on a sunny day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
just, it's beautiful. He has that, you can lead people to places when you're being honest, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something to it. You see that a lot from musicians, like at least the real ones. Like
Mhm.
I saw there's you may have heard of this guy named Paul Cawthon. He's a country, like kind of southern country rock. He did one song that I just went blank on it. If I name the song, man, I'm really going blank today. I guess I got so much
I
caffeine.
did, bro.
Usually
I
it
did
helps
the
me, man.
same thing earlier. I was listening to the song 2 days ago. I couldn't think of the name.
But he's been on like now he's been getting more mainstream country stuff, and
Mhm.
but he just posted or someone posted for him on social media last week. It's funny. Hannah and I were talking about it, like how these musicians, well, it's so common, like Johnny Cash, and the list just keeps going. Like they struggle with addiction and all kinds of suicide. but someone posted for him like, "Hey, Paul's canceled all of his concerts for the rest of the year." I think he just recorded one with like Morgan Wallen. He's been on a bunch of big albums and just off the deep end completely. And it's like they're kind of always walking that line of like, um, depression and suicide and all that kind of. But you kind of have to be in touch with your creative side a little bit, then it's got to be demanding to always have to put yourself out there and
Oh
have to be
yeah,
creative, and then everyone's like judging you for what you're putting out, but it's like raw and
yeah.
be really vulnerable.
That's why if you're gonna do it, you might as well be creating what you like. Can you imagine you're in that cycle, but you're also making music you don't even like? You don't even like listening to your own stuff.
Yeah,
It come on the radio and you're like, yo, turn it off, turn it off. I
yeah,
got some homies in the industry that they're like, they're not listening to what they're making. It feels like they're working a job that they hate.
that's wild.
They tell you what to wear. Well, this particular gentleman, they're telling him what to wear. He doesn't even like wearing the clothes that he's wearing. He can't have his lady around. He's married. He's a faithful brother. He can't have her around. It's
That's
it's
wild.
weird stuff.
Yeah,
He I know how old he is, and they did this to me too. I know how old he is, so he walks in, and I'm gonna just make up an age. Let's say he's 35. He's like, I'm 35, and they were like, No, you're 24. He's like, No, I'm 35. Like they're like, No, you're 24.
just because I think it'll resonate more with the audience,
Yeah,
or
yeah. We want people gravitate more towards uh, you know, oh, he got it so fast and he's so young. What? And his
yeah,
voice is this mature, and a phenomenon kind of thing. So
wow,
yeah, and which made me think. I wonder how many other people are like you. I
yeah,
don't know. It's just weird, man. It's that industry has just got so weird to me, and I was always drawing and sketching while I was in the studio. That felt like therapy while I was in the music studio. So when I left music to do art full time, it was a it was a relief. It was like I enjoyed what I was doing. There's not a bunch of like chefs in the kitchen. I made this. Do you want it? I don't have to get a billion people to listen to this art that I'm making.
yeah,
If you lean in close enough to the painting, you'll still hear the music. Music is always in me, but in this fine art capacity, it's like it's a connection between me and another person. I enjoy it a lot. The other thing it wasn't for me. And I got friends that are doing it at a high level and they're crushing it. Um, Marco McKenzie, he's doing his thing. Mike Stallone, aka Mike Murder, he's a beast. ASAP, huh? Monrovia, you know Monrovia.
I
I
don't think
think
so. Huh.
really talented artist from Liberia, Monrovia, and he got adopted by a family in Tennessee. But I seen him getting like carried into a helicopter, like having to flee, like because it was getting that crazy where he was in Africa.
Oh wow,
And EC's managing him, and they're just like took off. Goldford, he's killing it. It's a lot of guys that's staying true to it and creating some beautiful music, but I just didn't know how to walk that line.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So whenever you got into the art, I made that transition. I remember that was, and my timeline made me off, but it was kind of like wasn't with like Lamppost was kind of starting getting kicked off, and
Yeah, they gave me a residency. I
yeah,
kind of I was cool with a few of them over there, which was a huge help. You remember Drew Bells?
I remember that name.
So Drew and Zay ran Fancy Rhino.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
They introduced me to Ted.
Okay.
Ted Allen was the big dog over at Lamppost.
Yeah.
And so me and Ted linked up. We just vibed pretty immediately. And I was always around Fancy, just helping other creatives, go through, navigate different things in their head. I like I love people. I love like pushing on people, activating them just creatively. And so we would do all these wild workshops. I cut off all the lights. We'd take like 10 shots of whiskey and lay on the floor and then be like, all right, if your personality was an entree at Olive Garden. You know what? We would just come up with wild experiments just to
Yeah.
see what comes out of it. And after a while, I was like, I'm really gonna pour everything I have into doing this fine art full time. That's like 2015. And I was talking with Ted, and he was like, "Yo, we got a closet in the back. It was huge. It wasn't a closet. It was like
I remember seeing it. It was awesome.
2,500 square foot
Yeah.
space. Yeah, it was huge. But they were working out in that. I think it was called Fast Eddie's. And yeah, I hired some homies. We cleaned it out, and that was the residency was at a VC, and that was huge because a lot of the people that was in that tax bracket to collect fine art, I was crossing them all the time in the elevator.
Yeah.
That's where I met Joe, where the warehouse is now. He was living on the fifth floor. I was on the second floor, and we kept seeing each other in the elevator. I'm covered in paint. He got a suit on. By like the fifth or sixth time, he was like, "Yo, I'm gonna grab some art from you," and it was up.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's kind of like I don't know, a little bit of a meant to be sort of thing, you know?
yeah. I didn't realize how important. I don't know. It's some wild stuff that you learn just along the way. Like nobody taught me it, but just living it, I was like, okay, that's like even like who you're surrounded by. Like if I'm hanging around, like I would hang around a lot of artists, and we had a lot of fun, but we were all really broke because we're all hanging around. Like we can't afford to buy each other stuff.
Right.
But then like I start hanging around this other group, and this group is a bunch of like tech founders, and they're able to buy a bunch of art. And so now I'm telling my artist friends like, yo, you should come with me to we're going to Soho House. Blah
Yeah.
blah. And this is back in the day, and it's I don't know. It's the return on that intersection is huge when you put yourself, especially as a creative, in those spaces. That's why me and my wife we travel so much. We because you find these rooms and if you can go in, being yourself, being you got something to say, and you put it on the table. It's like it's a gravity. People get pulled to you. Ideas kind of merge together. It's beautiful, and I didn't really pick it up until I think I got more more serious about the business behind the art. It was usually just like we're all creatives, we're all artists. This is fun. But then when it's like, all right, I want to buy a house one day. I want to have a family. I want to. Then you're like, all right, I can't be late just because I'm an artist. I got to show up on time. Or
Right, right.
I was late today, but you know.
It's okay, you're forgetting.
But yeah, it's just I don't know. It's a lot of business stuff that started to. Anyway, I'm rambling, but
No, it's perfect.
it was a blessing, man, being in that group, seeing how businesses grow, scale. The people I was meeting, none of them were artists. I would have never met them any other way. And it was just, and now they're telling me like, oh, bro, you should come out to uh, Glacier Park, bro. We got this cat. So I wouldn't have went to Montana, Whitefish, and Glacier Park to. But now then I went out there and I'm like, yo, this is a vibe, bro. It's like an eagle grabbing a bird, like another bird, and the bird had a fish, and then a bear ate the three of them or something. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have saw that if you would have stayed.
That's not in Chattanooga? We got the eagle. We don't have the bear. I guess we got black bear.
Ah, man, I used to just be a Waffle House kind of guy,
Right, right.
like all the time.
Yeah.
You know. Now I go get the bag, and then you can go back to Waffle House, but I gotta go get it first, and
Right.
then you know what I mean. I had it backwards, but anyway, yeah, good times.
It's you bring up, you and your wife always traveling a lot. Whenever Hannah and I ran into you, and I hadn't seen you in a while. I mean, I've seen you around, but hadn't really talked. And it was at Massey's Kitchen a couple of weeks ago,
Yeah,
and you're talking about going to New York, and for a certain amount of time to do some work up there. And I was like, "Was your wife going with you?" And you're like, and it was so like matter of fact. And I'll say like all of the people I come across, like I've never heard a response like this to it, and it was so beautiful. It instantly said, "If I had, well, yeah, she's my best friend. Of course she's going with me."
yeah,
And it was just like so absolute. And Hannah and I talked about it later. It was really awesome. Like it's heartfelt, sincere, and think you don't find a lot of sincerity like that with people anymore. And it's just kind of like everyone's trying to get their own and trying to take care of themselves, and they kind of forget like loving people and relationships and all this stuff that matters. And
Yeah.
so anyway, that was props to you guys because that's pretty awesome.
Hey, much love. Shout out to Corinne. She's building a museum, man. She's crushing it. The things that she's building are gonna outlive us. I mean, my art is, but hers is like on an institutional level, so it can invite like a bunch of other generations to it. Art is kind of quiet. Like somebody will buy a painting, and it's for them and their family, and it can be an heirloom, but it's like you're not wearing it, so no one knows you really have it. It's like only for the people in their space. But with a museum, can I say the name of it? Culture and Code Museum. It's like it's in public. You can come look at this work. Come look at this. You can be there's a there's some magic that happens between a heart and another person when they see something that moves them. So I get excited about what she's building because it's inviting the public, whereas mine is more like just private.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something to that. I hadn't really thought about that, but when you're buying a piece for yourself, like it kind of winds up, I guess your guests see it and that sort of
Yeah.
thing, but it is kind of more personal versus like, public art and somewhere it can be shared. And
Do you feel that way about like you have your agency work, but then you have your sports? Because you're an athlete.
try to be,
With like,
want to be sometimes.
does what you do when you're racing, does that feel like this is me? This is for me, or is it like I don't know, like how?
Yeah, it's a good question. Without a doubt, like racing, it's kind of the most calm I'll ever be because I tend to be like real hyperactive and I'm always fighting like ADHD. And so it is kind of for me because when I get out there and race, like one, it's pretty fast, it's scary. Like I'm scared shitless of smashing trees and rocks. Those things
Yeah.
hurt. They don't move. Like, and you hit them, you usually break something.
And you're calm when you're doing it.
Yeah, because there's nothing else you can focus on. It's just like all your brain can focus on is like right then and there. So you're really living in the moment, and all you're thinking about is like controlling your breathing and where your vision's looking. And so there's like a whole kind of peace, tranquility side of it, and it's totally just for me. Yeah, the parts of like I kind of feel it's in some ways kind of you talking about like the art side of music and how in some ways it kind of gets perverted a little bit with all like the business side coming in and like wrecking the beautiful art side of it. Sometimes whenever I try to like document the racing side basically for benefits of my business because most people don't want to hear about marketing advertising, so we try to do things like podcast and add racing to it. But a lot of it, and even sometimes racing in general, like, hey, I just need to go out in the woods and ride by myself, but and not document it. No one knows about it,
but then we got to make money.
Then and I need to try to keep money coming in and make Spectruss a business, and so it kind of adds like that thing to look at, keep us top of mind, and it does sometimes make me feel like a douchebag. People are like, oh, you think you race? So I'm like, dude, I'm turning 40 next month. Like I'm not a Red Bull athlete. I'm a middle-aged man trying to go fast still and be a wannabe. But I still enjoy it and I love it. And the competitive side does push me more than if I just went for rides, which I enjoy doing that with my buddies. But you can never really push yourself as hard as you will in a race. For some reason, it like unlocks a whole nother level of primitive things, like hunter-gatherers going out for the kill and their life depends on it. It's something like that is tied to it.
One of my really close friends, he was interesting you brought that up. He was saying gee, you need to find someone to compete with. And I'm like, what do you mean? Because I'm just painting and it's like the eye of the beholder or whatever. But he's like, no, for real. You need, because you don't know how far you can go until you find somebody. And I'm like, well, bro, art is a little bit like jazz. Like, we're competing with a lot of ghosts mostly. I mean,
yeah, that's interesting.
Like Coltrane dropped a new album like 3 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
And Miles there could be some rendition of something and he's like number one again. So,
right.
And similar with poetry, a lot of the greats are still selling really well. But he was like, I don't care, bro. Like, find whoever's at the top of their game right now, put their picture on the wall, and then whoever these ghosts are, like I brought up Picasso, he's like, all right, we'll put his picture up beside it, like get some bones from a hospital, like
Right.
make a war room, look at these guys, pretend like they're talking shit, and
Yeah.
just, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
cause he's an athlete. He used to play pro ball overseas, so he's like, bro, if you tap into that, you'll push yourself a little further.
It,
This was reason he told me this like 5 months ago. Like,
has
so
it
I'm
helped?
still, I mean, I'm still trying to. I'm not that. I don't know. I am, but I'm not. So I'm trying to figure out how to do it as an artist,
Yeah.
but still like competing with myself mostly. You know.
It, my first thought is it kind of feels like that gray line of like the perverted part of, art being run by, big corporate, you're talking about like the artists, because that's competition, right? And for me, like with racing, like if you're just talking about Red Bull Supercross athletes, like I feel like they probably maybe lose a little bit of the beautiful side of riding motorcycles and being in nature, but it does make you better, and it's like, where's this fine line of like, you don't want to lose like your heart and soul in it, but
Yeah.
it does make you better.
I
And
mean, would we have Michael Jordan if he didn't have to like do all of that? Like, like with the Pistons fouling him and like
yeah,
all of these teams coming at him. Maybe we needed the Utah Jazz, or maybe we needed, you know what I mean?
yeah, like it,
The Knicks. Shout out to John Starks, by the way. Hydrate Heroes, Michael Tanner, all those guys. They're doing some great things. It's an energy drink. They're crushing it.
oh, cool.
But yeah, like I don't know. I think we need competition.
If he would have just been like, if Jordan would have been hooping down the street, and just
I'm sure.
killing it in the neighborhood, then that's cool.
I'm sure there was a Jordan down the street. We just don't know his name.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's like that line between, and you're not competitive.
Liz, I want to combat this theory.
Okay. Yeah.
Is it competing against someone or pressuring yourself to be your best? Because can you do one without?
I think
the
the
other?
argument is, I think what we're saying is, can you really know what your best is if you don't have, like, you're running fast and you're running your fastest, but if like a crazy ass dog that he just ate 3 babies in front of you, he's nuts and he's like running at you, you might run a little faster with that if that dog behind you.
That's pressure, though. That's not competition. That's
Ain't
survival.
competition's pressure though, right?
I do hear what you're saying though, because I do try to compete with like at a race, for instance. Like I'm not one of those that's just trash talking everyone around me, like you suck, you're terrible. Like, I know some people like that fuels them, but for me, it's like I cheer everyone else on, and it is like it's competing against myself, but them behind me or in front of me does make me try a little harder too. So I think there is a healthy amount of like making it about making yourself better.
Yeah. Too much of the other thing can be poisonous because then your ego could do some weird stuff. But I guess not enough of it. And if you're always in the back and you're like, well, I'm just happy to ride. It's like, you
Right.
know what I mean?
Kind of complacency, maybe.
Yeah, you is that disrespectful for the gift of life that you were given? Like, oh well, I'm straight, fellas. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah.
If this is the only life we get, I'm swinging for the fence.
Yeah.
You know?
But I don't think Tom York maybe is seeing it as like, I have to sound better than that guy.
Then the Talking Heads.
Yeah, I feel like he was just in his own pocket. Like,
Absolutely. I mean, I guess I'm not saying one or the other for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's a balance, like you said.
I feel like I have like moments where both are true, or times where one's true and the other's not true. Like there'll be times where I'm like, I don't want to race, or hell, to be honest with Spectruss, since COVID, like everything, we almost went under. Like it was, we lost so many clients, people couldn't be open, and had to shut a lot of things down. Like I got a motorcycle right before that. It was perfect timing because I didn't really want to do like corporate feeling business things and all the meetings and have to be responsible and grow the business. And I could have kind of cruised up until the last 2 years. So I spent 3 years basically cruising, riding dirt bikes and just enjoying life.
Yeah.
And then I kind of started getting that feel of like, all right, I do want to make more money. I do want to have a little more financial stability. I also want to grow a business and maybe leave a legacy, whatever that means, And so it kind of got me motivated again. And now, like, dirt bikes and that stuff's kind of taking a little bit of a backseat. I'm still doing it, obviously, but so I don't know. I think there's like ebbs and flows of everything, and maybe that's one of them.
Now, are scientists not doing this? You would think scientists would be like, all right, we need to beat cancer. Like, that's like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
Are they, you know what I mean? Like the stuff that you should be compared, like, there's a lot of illnesses that are like beasts out here.
Now, you might get me in conspiracy theories here, so you got to be careful.
No, we can go there.
I'm curious, like, is it in their best interest to really beat it, though? Because it's such a big business to treat it, like, with drugs as opposed to fixing the problem. I have a hard
You
time.
got a good point. It wouldn't be in the corporations' maybe best interest, but the scientist has a mother and a father or a nephew or a niece or an uncle, somebody that's been touched by this monk. Like cancer drove up and shot the crib up, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, oh, my grandmother just got hit. Oh, she got
Right.
cancer. Like, you would think that a scientist would be like, not on my watch, and like get in a car and just race down to a lab and cook up the cure, I guess.
Right.
I don't know.
But you're asking like more proactive than reactive. Like what actually brought the cancer to the house?
No, I think what you're saying is why cure if they're making so much money on it being like still running amok.
Really both. Like, I agree with it. Like, because there's a lot of studies that are now coming out where sugar is linked to causing cancer and glaucoma and heart disease, of course, and diabetes.
Sugar's in like everything,
everything, man. It's in everything. But they've, there's actually, I think it was Forbes released this back in 2016 article about in the 50s. And I'm paraphrasing all of this, so my accuracy on data is.
Oh no, you're good. I've
been.
been paraphrasing since.
But the short of it was that the FDA was bought off for like a small nominal amount. It was like $50,000 back in the day to basically say that heart disease and high cholesterol came from anything but sugar was what the article came out, and they were bought off to say that that's where it came from. It turns out it was from sugar, and that these sugar lobbyists paid them off. And that's what all these doctors were taught for the last 50, 70 years is that you need to stay away from cholesterol, you need to stay away from salt, and like salt balances your water. It's part of electrolytes, and they're like high salt diets hard on your heart. It's like you can kind of eat pretty much as much salt as you want. They're finding now.
Crazy.
But sugar is what, all the stuff is, they're saying it's from sugar, but if you look at it, everything has sugar.
I know. I feel like we had sugar before we came here.
Yeah.
Like
I just finished the energy drink.
Yeah,
There's sugar
I
all
mean,
in it.
you saved me with this because there's no sugar in this.
I don't know. It says vanilla. There may be sugar in that too.
Oh, you know what? Yeah. Okay.
I had some friends. They just did dry January, but then that wasn't hard enough for them. Which I've done that last few years. This year I didn't want to be a quitter, so I just kept drinking all this.
Oh man.
Yeah. But they did dry January, and then they did keto, a strict keto diet, and so they didn't
It's
have
just meat.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. So they didn't do any sugar at all, and they were drinking electrolytes from it's like LMNT or something like that. Electrolytes, and they're really expensive. You buy a pack of them, that's less than a month's supply, and it's like $60. It's basically just salt, magnesium, potassium, and it says no sugar. Well, apparently they started doing research because they kept getting brought out of keto, and when you're in that like gray area of going full ketosis, your body's really miserable. It's upset, and then once you go full ketosis for long enough time, you start burning your own fat, and you're okay.
Mm.
But they kept getting brought out of it. They could feel it, and they felt miserable. Turns out there's a lawsuit against LMNT that there's sugar in it. They didn't claim it. They hid it because under 1% of ingredients, you don't have to list it, and so they hid it in the flavor. And it's like everything that being sold in America feels like it has sugar in it somewhere. It's pretty hard to not consume sugar now, but
That's crazy, isn't it?
It's disappointing.
I
Yeah.
mean, sugar and plastic, I guess, is just it's in everything, man.
Yeah. I was listening to another podcast recently, and they're talking about how in Europe they only have 600 allowed ingredients in their food chain that's allowed by like their version of FDA,
Yeah.
and here we have over 10,000 that are approved. It's like,
Why?
how did we come up with 9,400 more ingredients in them that are allowed in our food chain. You know, it's
I guess is America's essentially just a big business disguised as a country, almost. It seems like.
seems like it with pharma at the top of it.
Yeah,
You know?
and we're just open to if you got the money, we can do business type.
Yeah.
And it's very, I don't know, it's strange. It is strange to be here. I love it. I can't imagine living like I live now anywhere else in the world. I really like living in this country. But it is kind of weird when you look at all this other crazy stuff. I mean, it's
Oh yeah.
Chris Rock, he has this beautiful thing, the way he sums up America. He says America is like the uncle that molested you, but then paid your way through college. Like, when you start looking into some of the darkness, I mean, it's in every country, but you know.
It's kind of tough to find somewhere else to go. I mean, I love America too. I mean,
Yeah, I love it.
for
Cran
sure.
wants to. She's like, yo, let's live in Italy. I'm like, bro, they're not buying art in Italy. I like Italy's cool. Shout out to Italy. I like Italy, but you know, I'm still in go get it kind of mode. You know.
Right. And they've got, I mean, every other country seems to have so many more either taxes or laws, and, you know, preventing all kinds of things. You know, like they've got this whole thing in the UK now that's like the freedom of speech stuff that's going on. Like,
that's
it's
crazy.
kind of scary. People getting put in jail for memes and posting online. Like,
You can get thrown in jail for a meme.
that's what
UK?
a lot of people are saying. You know, and you go online, you can read things both ways, right? But
That's
it
wild.
seems like we still live in the freest country, but it's kind of hard to feel that way sometimes here. You know.
Yeah.
Freedom is our biggest downfall too.
What you mean?
That we have the freedom to do whatever, therefore we do whatever.
Ah, we be
have-
wilding out.
Yeah, like the power to do whatever. You know.
That's true
it's just
too.
Like
Yeah.
That's true too. Hey, look, America's cool. Look, just a game. I don't want to get grabbed out the house and thrown into a truck at night. And this is they found his body in a river. I have a paintbrush in my hand, and I'm.
Well, on a positive note, all the artwork goes up in value.
Yeah.
There's got to be some jokes. And you guys ever joke about that? Like, you know, when I go away, like none of my websites go up in value. You know, like, they're gone. But
You know, it is wild. It sucks that that's the reality of with fine art, with luxury, I think. But I think it's slowly changing. Guys like Damien Hirst, I mean, he's a billionaire as an artist. I never would have imagined an artist
Really?
being
I didn't
able
know
to
that.
actually become a billionaire in their lifetime. And I have no interest in acquiring that much money. That's way more than I need.
yeah,
But yeah,
I feel like you can get. I shouldn't say you. And that was like more of a proverbial you, not you.
yeah.
I feel like I would get in a lot of trouble with $1 billion.
I know I'd get in. Me and Cran would both get in trouble with $1 billion. Because there are things that we want to say that we don't say because we don't got $1 billion.
Yeah, right.
But you got $1 billion, maybe we say, yo, you know what? And another thing about pharma, like
Yeah,
I would
right.
never say that now.
Right.
You know,
But $1 billion's like, that's fuck you money, you know?
$1 billion's a little different.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I think you have to kind of have more manners when you don't got $1 billion in the bank.
Yeah.
Maybe more people that have something to say should feel as free as a billionaire does in the way they speak. But we live in an era where your family can be canceled or destroyed or torn apart or burned to the ground for having a different opinion, whether you're right or wrong. It's like we don't even care if it's right or wrong. If it's different than how I feel, then
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
yeah, it's I've never seen it. I think it's crazy, but it is what it is. I still treat everybody with love, so
I know that's true. Yeah, for sure.
we just watch from the sidelines, like, damn, that's crazy. But $1 billion, you can jump in, like, hey, break it up. All right, you shut up. All right, you sit down. We just watch right now. We ain't breaking up no fights.
All right, so I'm so curious. What was this artist's name again? How the hell did he make $1 billion from art?
Damien Hirst. Well, and so it's kind of there's some people that are, I think, more academic that may not like Damien Hirst. He'll do something like he'll get a shark and put the shark in embalming fluid and put that in the exhibition, and it's this much money or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't paint anything. He didn't really the shark. I mean, God made the shark, or whatever you believe made the shark, evolution or whatever. Like, how much of it is that? Like, where? How does he sign?
Right.
Where's the artist? Or he's in formaldehyde. Yeah, formaldehyde. It's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like you're kind of just transporting something at that point. And like,
Yeah, I love Damien Hirst. I think he makes some beautiful things, but also I think there's some things that's out there that's kind of like, all right, like the banana that's taped on a wall. It's like,
man, that my buddy sent me that, and he's a pilot for FedEx. And he's a military pilot before that, flying fighter jets. And I think his exact words are like, "Fuck me, I quit." This is the article.
I mean, it's kind of like, and I look, I'm an artist, and so this is no shade. It's all love. When I look at it, I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
all right. Is it ridiculous? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It feels silly, but if you can, I don't know, if a room says no, I see something in this and it moves me, then okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't argue with it. I've seen some work that was very not even archaic, but just simple in nature, and it moved me. It was like a line that was just like a weird squiggly, like somebody freehanded a line. They tried to make it straight, and the way that it was off was just beautiful to me, and it was just a line. So I was moved by that. I looked at the price; it was like $180,000 for this line, and for me, the line was worth it because for some reason, and I don't know why, but I was moved by the line. So,
Mm.
as silly as the banana and the tape sounds, I've been moved by sillier, but also I get suspicious when I see the banana and the tape. I'm like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
Or an invisible sculpture that sells for
Yeah.
50. It's like the invisible sculpt. Come on, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
really?
I just saw that article again, and like last week, it popped up on my feed, and I'm like, I'm in the wrong business, man. I really missed my opportunity here.
I mean, it kind of can. You don't want the market to become a laughing stock because then the consumer becomes suspicious. What? An invisible sculpture.
Right.
So then maybe this Basquiat that sold for 150 million, maybe it's not really worth 150 million. Maybe is it worth 100? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the romance and mystery I have with fine art. It's that gray space. Uh, is jewelry worth what it's worth? Is any of this worth? These cameras, these are nice cameras. Are they worth this much? I
Right.
mean,
Yeah,
I
and
don't know. Maybe.
it's weird because the cameras for me, I see them and it's like, all right, well, this has, this sensor in it, and the lens has this glass and aperture. Like, there's kind of a fact sheet I can go down. I guess art kind of has that too,
I mean,
but it's more emotional, I feel like, and there's this
yeah,
emotional connection, like your line connection.
yeah,
But then there's also a hype part that I wonder a lot of these artists, like the duct tape banana. And one that comes to mind that was one of my, and I know very little about art. I preface all of this. I should have prefaced the whole podcast with I know very little about art.
we both know very little. Art is big.
Yeah.
No one knows much about art.
But one that always pops in my mind, and probably because of the exact thing I'm about to bring up with like maybe it's PR companies pushing it or good marketing behind it, but Banksy is one that always like, and had that whole documentary come out but I haven't stayed like up on Banksy, and I heard there was some controversy and some theories about Banksy, and was it really like a real person? And
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you know much about Banksy? Catch me up on where the Banksy is.
I mean, I think he's a talented artist with a talented brand. I think he has something to say, and I think he's really good at saying what it is he wants to say. I like him as an artist. the other gentleman in that documentary,
Exit through the
Exit Through
gift.
the Gift Shop,
Yeah.
Mr. Brainwash, he's an artist. Now he's different. He's kind of like, and this is no shade, Mr. Brainwash. You cool. I'm just this is how I gotta preface that because this weird generation that we in, but it's like I ain't even gonna say it. I ain't even gonna say it. Like he I felt like the film was trying to highlight, look, uh, Banksy being an established artist, if he says that this artist is the next great artist, y'all will believe it, even though he is not.
Yeah.
And they kind of showed that in the doc. Well, after the doc, it was almost like, oh, okay, that's beautiful, like social experiment. Mr. Brainwash just keeps it going because there's some people that it's almost like it's like they still believe it, even though it was created to show you, to put a mirror to how the market can be manipulated. There are people that still have fallen in love with the manipulation.
Yeah.
It's like the woman that knows her guy's cheating on her, but she just can't. She just can't get around it. She thinks like, no, I'm his real main. No, you're not. You're on the side.
Yeah.
But they've fallen in love with it, and so he has a whole separate career, and he's doing well.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he's doing well. And again, this is not a diss. It's just like an observation. Like that's people were selling pet rocks in the '90s. Like
Right.
we know the rock is just a rock,
Yeah.
but with enough PR and marketing, maybe the rock maybe it's contemplating something deeper now from the PR and marketing. You know what I mean? So it's I don't know.
Is Banksy still doing so? Did it ever come out? Like, do we know his identity officially? It's still hidden?
I don't know. Do you know?
He's still hidden.
Yeah.
Is
I
he?
think it's brilliant. I think he just figured out the art market on such a genius level that he's respected. He's able to, like you said, put a mirror to the market,
Yeah.
almost make fun of it, but still keep his own peace, but still speak on social issues
And still make money for him and his family and his legacy.
Yeah.
Banks is good in my book.
he could die and we wouldn't even know.
That's pretty wild.
Here's the crazy thing. All right. What if he's dead already, like 8 years ago?
It's a family trust taking care of it. And
Well, so I heard that 8 years ago he got poisoned by the nanny. The nanny had like 40 paintings from him that he would just gift type shit. And he was poisoned, and it's an Asian dude. It's not even Banksy.
that's a hell of a
I
theory.
mean,
Yeah. You just making this all
I'm
up?
just making it up. I'm messing with you. That would be wild.
That would be wild.
crazy.
It's all China. China's running it now.
Long live Banksy. I like Banksy.
So I know last time we ran into each other at Massey's Kitchen, talking about the trip to New York and what's kind of next plans coming up. Like, what's this year look like for 25?
Yeah, so we're working on a series where imagine like Anthony Bourdain, but with a paintbrush. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I'm interviewing different cool people that I meet along my travels, and I'm asking them some very like weird questions, and I'm painting while I'm talking to them, making a portrait, but it's not a like what they look like. It's more or less what they feel like an inner portrait. And Lauren Beck, she produced Manchester by the Sea. What's the other movie? The scary one starts with an S. Suspiria. She
Okay.
produced that. Super talented. She's behind it. Kevin Thompson, he produced the Genius film with Kanye.
Okay.
He's with Cootie and Chike of Creative Control TV. We got a all star squad, and I'm grateful to have this caliber of people believe in my vision, and I'm super excited for everyone else to see it. It's gonna be a good time. So we got that. Cringe Building Culture and Co Museum out. This year there's gonna be a lot coming out on that. She can speak on that better than I can. But in between all of that is I'm painting every day.
That's
I
awesome.
got in my brain, even though we got these other businesses set up, the restaurant, ceramics company, the culture and co, my art business, I still gotta pretend like if I don't paint, I don't eat.
Right.
Like I gotta look in the mirror and be like, all right, there's 8 billion people out here. I still gotta tap into that because when you get comfortable, like a couple of years back, I hit a big bag and I got real comfortable. And I mean, I was painting maybe once every 3 or 4 months, just being transparent
Yeah.
because I was had moving so much,
Yeah.
and money was kind of new to me at that level, and life taught me how to like, hey, look, you need to chill, bro. Like you need to, and I had some good people, some good mentors around me that was like, hey, bro, you need to do this, and at halftime, even if you up 42-0, you got to look at it like it's 0-0. That's something Ted told me that he got from his coach in Alabama. Like, I got a lot of good wisdom from people that uh, hit some success like 100 times more than me. So it was giving me some game, and it helped a lot. So now we moving with the right balance and vision going forward. But that first kind of like you make more money than you thought you'd make, and you know what I'm talking about. And it
Yeah.
come, you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
and
I know the feeling. I bought some stupid cars during that
I
time.
bought
I'm
some
like,
stupid stuff, but it is what it is. You go through it, and you
yeah.
you know recalibrate, and the real ones are able to climb back up. So
Yeah.
I like where we are because the intention that we're moving with now is just so calculated and focused, and it's authentic. It's us. We don't gotta shuck and jive, or we ain't gotta like be goofy out here. We can stay who we are, and we don't have to compromise for some corporation. We got people that believe in the brands that we built, where they'll just give it to us directly, like as a partner or investor.
Yeah.
And that's been a blessing. It's been love. It's like, okay, yeah, we doing it right, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. I love you mentioned the bar and restaurant as well,
Yeah,
home bar, and like
home bar. Yeah.
the name. It's a great name, and
Oh
having your
yeah.
artwork in there. I love going there and visiting. And the espresso martini list. That's definitely a favorite of Hannah and I as
Hey,
well.
shout out to Lee Brock on that. I think Lee and Matt really pushed the espresso martinis. Those are my business partners in the restaurant. And shout out to Brian, aka B Money. Yeah, good partners makes the restaurant game pretty fun. I
Yeah.
think if we had to do it alone, it would be really stressful.
Yeah. I can see that for sure.
Yeah, it would be stressful. Yeah.
Man, from what I hear, it's pretty stressful either way, and
Yeah, but when you got some partners and it's like me and Cran are real good with like art design and like creating an ambiance.
mhm.
So we just focused on that. I'm not good with books. I'm still gotta get my books right. Like, you know what I mean? Like so,
Yeah.
that's more Brian.
Yeah.
Or Matt is a lawyer. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So he handles this area, and Lee, like we all handle different areas, our own zones of genius. So it's never weird.
Yeah.
You know, to have to wear all those hats, I don't think I could do it.
For this tour, are you going to be traveling for this and like painting these pieces, or like?
Yeah. We got connected with a studio in New York. I forgot this guy's name. I just linked up with him a couple weeks ago. Lauren introduced me to him. Great guy. He's done a lot of stuff for TV and film. I think it starts with a. I think his name is Bob, but I don't know. Bob doesn't sound right. Yeah, his name is Bob.
Okay.
Yeah, Bob in New York. We're gonna use his space. It has a like a garden on the roof, and like it's like 2 or 3 stories. And when I saw it, it's immaculate. It's beautiful. They got cameras hidden everywhere, so we can like keep it natural. It won't feel like a camera's in your face.
Yeah.
But then there's some artists and people that we've met, um, like Larry Jenkins. He's a talented horn player. He's in Nashville, so it'd be easy to just pull up in Nashville, find a beautiful space. His music, he just won a shout out to him. He just won his second Grammy. Um, like to find atmosphere that he feels most comfortable in, or something that complements or represents the kind of music that he plays. Like we're kind of playing with different models, but we wanted to secure a spot in New York because a lot of the talent goes in and out of New York. But some of these guys is off the beaten path. Some are in like cabins. Like, nah, he's in Wyoming. He don't really leave much, so we'll have to go to him. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome, man. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to seeing the work.
Might have to have you on there, man. Or maybe when you next time you're in a race,
Yeah.
I'll bring a painting in a passenger seat, and I try to paint it
Yeah.
when you're hitting these crazy turns. Or no, the passenger has to call out the turns, I guess.
Well,
Ahead
I'm
of
mainly
time.
racing motorcycles now, so you're gonna have a hell of a time on the back of a motorcycle.
No, I wouldn't be able to do that. So you're not doing cars anymore?
No, I've found that I just couldn't really, one, afford them because I was racing off-road stuff out west and trying for a little bit. Kind of got into that with my buddy Robert, and actually he's going to come on here and talk about it. He races that trophy truck he's got. It says Chattanooga whiskey on it.
Nice.
But you got to haul everything out there, and he's done well enough financially. He's got a whole team in Texas that like just is always taking care of the rig full time, and they haul it out there. But I was taking care of the rig myself, hauling it my trailer across the country to Vegas is where most of the races. It's like, man, I can't do it. There's nowhere to test it around here. So motorcycles are cheaper, and I'm better at two wheels than I am four wheels anyways. So, and I can race them right here, close to home. And
A bike would be more dangerous, though, right?
oh yeah. So usually, like you go to, they call it cages. You got to go to race in a cage. So you have like a roll cage around you as you get older. And I'm already way past that old part now as I'm hitting 40. So I should be in a cage, but I'm gonna squeeze some more life out of these old bones for back to a cage.
Would you ever? This is a weird question. Would you ever sell one of your bones?
Oh,
Like take out your leg bone.
Could I-
They put like some metal in there, and we create an art piece out of one of your bones, whichever one you depend on the most when you're racing.
So I'd probably be more inclined to sell a kidney, but a bone, I don't know. I'm pretty scared of like needles and going under the knife and all that too. So that'd probably be a tough one. But I'm not gonna say no because that could be kind of a cool piece of art too.
For $100 million.
Sold.
Nice.
When we doing surgery, I got a butter knife out there in the conference room. You want to do it right here? Yeah. Oh man, I've enjoyed talking.
Man, likewise. Anytime.
Yeah, it's been
Yeah,
fun.
anytime.
Yeah, I was telling, actually, I think I was telling Zach and Justin. Actually, it's on team meeting on Monday. I was talking about, yes, I guess that was yesterday. We have one of our team meetings on Monday on Zoom call, and I was like, yeah, I got a buddy of mine, Genesis, coming in, and I was kind of describing who you were and looking you up on social media, and I was like, he's just very kind of poetic in everything he says and does, and I was like, actually, whenever we're sitting at Mass, he's like, he just always kind of drops these like little nuggets of, poetry on me, and you probably don't remember this, but it stood out to me because very few people talk like this, and I was like, yeah, I've been writing, like doing daily journaling, gratitude, and that sort of thing, and I was telling you about sitting in front of that window, and in my house looking out over the cliff, and like the window to a poet is like the oven to a chef, or it was something like that. And I was like, it just came out so quickly. I'm like, when I got to think of, analogies or parables like that, like I'd be there for years trying to think of one, but it just like kind of flowed out of you. And I was like, that's very deep. I never thought about that. But riding in front of a window does
It brings it out.
yeah.
But I'm surrounded by a lot of talented people, so there's a lot of gems that get thrown around. If you're in a treasure room, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're gonna have some jewelry. You know what I mean? Like I'm surrounded. It's less of me and I think more of like spirit and friends that just. I mean, yeah, it's hard not to drop a gem when everybody around you is dropping gems.
Right. Well, Genesis, thanks for joining us today, man.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it.
It's a blast.
Stay tuned for next podcast. We got some more guests coming up next week. Either my buddy that races trophy trucks or who knows, maybe some other person. We'll go between art, motorsports, and one other person that thinks they want to come drop some nuggets information. But you got to compete against Genesis on the great nuggets. But thanks for joining us. Be sure to check out Genesis social media. It's Genesis the Gray Kid, right, on Instagram.
On everything.
Website, Genesis the Gray Kid.
Yeah, that'll get them there.
Yeah. Check out all his artwork. I've got 3 pieces here in the office. It's awesome artwork. So be sure to look him up, give him a like, follow, shout out.
Cheers.
Cheers.